things I can remember on the farm was running around on the forklift with my dad, loading up cherry bins on the truck and driving down to the warehouse, dropping cherries off. Always riding around with my dad, helping him unload and load. And I can remember driving around with my grandpa on the farm, and that just really kind of lit a fire under me when I was younger, that I really wanted to be a farmer and follow after my dad and my grandpa. Really start focusing on making the farm sustainable, where we got a cash flow where we can keep farming, where we're not just farming from year to year, trying to get new plantings in the ground so that we're boosting production, desirable varieties, and still keeping that balance between apples and cherries, where, you know, I don't want to get too heavy on cherries or too heavy on apples, because you get too heavy on apples and the apple market crashes, and then you're 5 years going, oh man, I'm not going to be able to make this work. Where apples and cherries seem to kind of complement each other for us. So for us, we got kind of a piece of dirt that's real low, flat, and it gets really cold in the spring. So it's a place that's not very ideal to have apples and cherries. It's just probably going to get frosted out 50% of the time. So the best crop for us was Concords, and because otherwise that ground would just be idle. There'd be nothing there. We'd be paying property taxes on it and not recouping any investment on the ground. Right now we got some apple varieties that have been in the ground since the 80s, and we've got blocks that are they're 30 years old, but they're still cranking fruit out. And for us, it wouldn't be economical to rip those out and plant something else, because right now it's working, it's making money, and it's producing really good quality apples. We got a few cherry blocks on the other hand though, that they're 23 years old and they're just not cranking out the tonnage that we need to be making a profit. So right now what's going through my head is, what can I plant in that piece of dirt, and in what row spacing and tree spacing am I going to be able to make it economical? What rootstock do I put on it? Variety is the biggest thing for us right now. Is what's the best variety for us to plant, especially with apples. Apples, I can change my mind every day on what variety I want to plant, just because it changes so much. One year it seems like Fuji's are doing really good. One year it seems like Galas are doing really good. Last year Granny's did pretty well. That's it's a big decision to make, because you put potentially $30,000, $40,000 an acre into a new planting. You want to get it right. So you need to be methodical and really think about every aspect of what you're going to plant before you go and spend all that money putting it in the ground, where it's pretty much permanent. The way I kind of see the future going is automation is what is going to happen in the future. Whether it's 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road, that's what's going to happen with labor shortages and the increased cost of labor. You look at all these new orchards that are going in, and they're all high density V-trellis or vertical trellis, and what I think a lot of growers are doing is they're going to that because once we end up having mechanical harvesters, they're gonna work on V-trellises. They're not gonna be working on free open standing trees. And even right now, with a V-trellis, you're making pruning that much easier off of a platform, because there's just that one 2D line that the guy can stand there and prune, instead of having to set your ladder, get into the middle of the tree, prune all that out, come back down, set your ladder again, go up, prune again. So what I would tell younger growers is that you need to have the mindset that we're going into the future of automation. Would it make sense to plant a freestanding tree? Maybe for your ground or whatever works for you. But if you're gonna be running a pruning platform or possibly a mechanical harvester through there in the next 10 to 20 years, is it going to make more sense to plant high density trellis or a freestanding tree? But it all just depends on what works best for you and your ground.